we could have made fun of John Durham for losing the other 2 lawsuits or cases
Right.
that he went into court for, but he never
You
he
mean
never really
the sham
was.
investigations that
Yeah. I
the
mean,
sham
against
prosecutions?
Clinton, yeah, because
Hillary Clinton.
I would almost argue that John Durham, unless you're
Yeah.
really like, it's kind of an inside baseball reference. Like, I feel like John Durham isn't a name that you would normally know, and it definitely wasn't
Right.
a name that was evoked during the Jan
Well,
6 hearings.
unless you're very familiar with the laptop talk.
Yeah.
If you're very familiar with the bullshit laptop talk, all the lies built around the laptop from hell.
Mhm.
If you're familiar with that, then you would be very familiar with Durham because they had high hopes. I mean, they were going to lock up Hillary Clinton. They were going to lock up Barack Obama for spying on campaigns. I mean, they were going to prove that not only did Donald Trump not collude with Russia, but it was Hillary Clinton that colluded with Russia to make sure Donald Trump didn't win. I mean, all this just fucking bullshit nonsense. They wanted to prove that the P tape isn't real, which it is.
Yep.
I'm sure of it.
Oh, yeah.
They wanted to prove all these things, and Durham was their big hope, right?
Yeah.
He was the one that was going to prosecute these people and put them in Gitmo or whatever the hell these QAnoners believe, and he did none of that. And as a matter of fact, there was the opposite kind of happening in this investigation that they covered up. But we'll get into that. Also, we have the average, everyday Republican, George Santos. He loves his lies. Everyone knows he loves his lies. The problem is he's not very good at it. He's just not a professional liar like some of the other professional politicians out there, like maybe our dishonorable mention today. But let's start, because really, honestly, the John Durham and the Donald Trump thing, it's one and the same, isn't it?
Yeah.
Usually we have like 2 different stories here, but this is where the idiotic universes collide, is Bonehead of the Week sometimes. And we have a huge collision here of boneheads with John Durham and Donald Trump. And I'm going to drag Bill Barr into this section.
Take it away
section of this. So for those of you who do not know and who are not familiar with all the laptop language that is the lies and delusion of QAnon, John Durham was going to be their great hope to charge and imprison, and I don't know. They were going to execute him, put him in. I don't know what the fuck. They were going to remove Joe Biden and Joe Biden.
They were going to use the tyrannical government that they don't like to have to then imprison someone and put them in
Gitmo. To install a dictator.
I will say this, that is definitely a recurring punishment that people on the right have for anyone who they feel is the enemy. They go, send him to Gitmo, or put him on a bar. Like Ginny Thomas was, put him on a barge outside of Gitmo. Like, what the fuck? Why would you just put them in Gitmo?
Well, because see, here's the thing. The reason why Ginny Thomas wants him on a barge outside Gitmo is because we've exposed, and Democrats, Senate Democrats specifically exposed, Claire McCaskill being one of them, the former senator from Missouri, and Al Franken. They exposed the fact that they were torturing people at Gitmo. I don't know if you heard of waterboarding or not, but that's why they're so obsessed. That's why they're so obsessed with Gitmo, because they think that's where people get waterboarded.
Right.
Which it
is that considered international waters out there?
Well, so that's what I'm saying, is that's what probably Ginny Thomas, that's what, I mean, you got to get inside of their fucking little cult deluded minds of why they say some of this stupid shit in the first place. It's not, again, I told everyone in the beginning of the show, in the first 30 minutes, that there is a difference between opinion and belief. Your belief is not an opinion automatically. It's not. Opinions are based in fact, right? You can have a certain set of facts. Me and Gabe can agree on 3 or 4 facts, and we can form different opinions based on those facts. We've done it on this show. We typically agree, but we don't always agree. We disagreed yesterday when I said Trump absolutely should be on Twitter. I hope he's on Twitter. He needs to be on Facebook. I'm itching for this little fat slob to get on Facebook so we can out microphone him. That's my thought. You have a little different idea.
It was just for Facebook. I was like, I don't care about Twitter.
Well,
but Facebook was the one that I was like, that's the evil one.
But we're using the same set of facts to form our opinions. Now, there is a difference between opinions and belief. Belief is just, I mean, your belief can be based in fact and opinion. right?
Yeah.
I mean, most of
It
my
can
beliefs
be
are.
very misconstrued and
Right.
manipulated in your
Right.
own determination or
Right.
like interpretation.
Well, it could be like the video we just watched of Carrie Lake, where she
Uh-huh.
believes that a judge can just overturn an election and make her the governor of. I don't know that there's any mechanism for a judge in
There
Arizona to be like, you're the governor. Oh, you're the, that's
Yeah. I mean, it's the same.
The
Right,
Oprah
right.
meme.
Yeah.
You're the governor. You're the
You
governor.
get
You're the governor. Like,
the
what the
idea.
fuck are you talking about? This
Yeah.
delusion.
It doesn't. I mean, it doesn't. I mean, their logic is that there's a lack of logic, right? It never makes any sense. And when they try to explain something, they come up with some whataboutism on something that actually contradicts their own point that they're trying to make. So they end up more or less defeating their own point by themselves. And you just kind of just sit by and watch and be like, oh, okay, all right. But the idea that you'd be, for her example, or any other Republican where they're like, oh no, it was the deep state and the judge has to be the one that appoints. I mean, it's almost as effective of like an argument as Donald Trump saying, if I think about declassifying documents, they're declassified.
Right.
And that's not how the world works. And that's just not based in reality. And none of these Republicans are. And John Durham is a great example of that.
Well, it's the same way with the documents mind control stuff, because we're going to talk about Trump here.
Mm-hmm.
Is that it's a belief. You believe that happens, but it's not an opinion because there's no basis in fact.
Right.
Like you gotta have a few facts about your little thoughts and your thinky space using its energy there to form an opinion. Now, your opinion can be that the president of the United States, the sitting president of the United States, can declassify any information that he wants. That's a fact. It can happen that way. But just because that's a fact doesn't mean that your stupid belief is based in that fact, because it just isn't. But let's go to the facts of this story on Durham and Trump and why they ended up on Bonehead of the Week. Lawrence Tribe has it here. His commentary is on Twitter. When Durham unexpectedly found evidence of crimes committed by rather than against Trump, he and Barr deliberately deceived the nation into thinking the opposite. Sounds familiar almost on like every issue.
Yeah.
This deep dive by the New York Times is as jaw-dropping as anything read in the past decade. I did read part of this. I didn't read the exact whole thing from start to finish, but literally almost every single fucking sentence of it, you're like, Jesus Christ. Oh, Jesus Christ. Are you fucking kidding me? Oh, for fuck's sake. Like, you could use 1,000 hand palm or face palm emojis.
Yeah. I mean, it is one of those things that is like totally not surprising, especially when they're like, oh yeah, so we, Bill Barr handed this off to John Durham to look into. John Durham looks into it and he goes, oh, okay. So it turns out he actually he made some boo-boos and he wasn't actually the victim here. And so the idea that if they don't like the answer that they want, or if they don't get the confirmation bias that they need to continue with something, then they'll, toss it off to the side. I mean, where are these Twitter files, baby? Huh?
Right, exactly. But this is the ability of the Republicans to reverse engineer everything. I know I keep going back to this story, and it doesn't seem like that. Like, how is the Eminem story this story? I'm telling you, it's the exact same shit.
Yep.
Exact same shit, folks. They're reverse engineering. They tried to reverse engineer something that didn't exist. And because they were using a system that relies on fucking facts to some degree to do what they wanted to do, which was prosecute people in front of a jury of their peers, it was damn difficult to reverse engineer this. And what's funny about it, which is not surprising, is that when they started to reverse engineer, they found crimes that Donald Trump committed. Because what happened is they went to the Italian government, because what they wanted from the Italian government was to reverse engineer their narrative. They wanted the reverse engineering. They wanted proof and evidence, or at least a narrative that showed that there was corruption from Clinton, and collusion from Clinton, not Donald Trump.
I mean, in a way, they kind of went about the scientific method. It just ended up proving themselves wrong, right? So their idea was like, this is
but the scientific method doesn't reverse engineer the results,
right?
Well, in most cases,
yeah.
And that's why they failed. so great here.
Right.
And their failure here is important, right? I mean, a lot of people are upset about this and they're pissed about this, but folks, this is why us being in a pro-democracy coalition and really just standing behind facts and truth is important. But this exercise of showing who these people are and exposing themselves, especially Bill Barr, because Durham, you know, and really honestly, there's a lot of legal minds out there. When Durham got assigned to this case, they were like, oh, well, Durham, he's got credibility and blah, blah, blah. Yeah. You need to recant your statements. You need to get out in front of the people and say, you were fucking wrong. You were dead wrong. You can't believe you're wrong, but you are wrong. And you will try better on your analysis of this stuff because it didn't matter the vehicle of Durham. Right. Because Durham was just assigned again to to reverse engineer the result that they wanted, not to actually seek facts and then prosecute based on those facts. Because what ended up happening as they reverse engineering this idea that the Italian government was somehow going to tell them, oh yeah, the Clintons were the ones that were colluding with Russia. They found out that Trump committed crimes in Italy because the Italians are like, oh yeah, that crime doesn't exist. But hey, by the way, look at this crime. Now, no one knows what this crime is because in this article, it does not lay out what the crimes are. They're not reporting on that as of yet. But my guess is that it does have to do with the collusion. It's the crime of the collusion.
Because they look into the Russia investigation. Russia, hoax, all that bullshit. But the idea that they went in to confirm their own beliefs, right? They just wanted confirmation bias to be like, yes, he was the victim and these crimes really were against him and he didn't do anything wrong. And when they go to test that, theory or that bias, then they find out, oh, actually Trump did do some stuff wrong.
The evidence of collusion wasn't from Clinton. It was from.
But it does go to show you that once more, just like the obstruction committee, right, of the Republican Party in the House, is that their investigation either turns out to be a total dud or it reveals something that, oh, the person that we were going in to protect and with an investigation, turns out that person actually did something wrong. And this whole deep state plot was actually Trump and not anyone else against Trump, right? And so you find like this. So Trump was, what is it, almost 4 years now is what the investigation that was going on. And they still came up with nothing other than finding out that Trump actually was involved.
Well, they tried to prosecute a couple people, but failed miserably.
Right.
And the reason why is because a jury of their peers went, I mean, it has to be, something more than this. And they acquitted them of the charges that Durham manufactured. And again, it's a manufacturing and reverse manufacturing of this idea. Now, I know I played a lot of this video yesterday, and I promise to the audience that I'm not going to play the entirety of this video today. And that, again, the video that we watched yesterday, and I would encourage you strongly to go watch our episode yesterday if you didn't catch it, where we mocked the shit, because the video in its entirety, you don't want to watch.
It's like almost 2 minutes to have the first question. He's like, I've got to. It's not what he said. I got a question. Okay. And then he goes for 2 minutes, almost 2 minutes, and does it as a question. And then he gets to the point where he's like, who's Ray Epps?
Yeah.
Who's Ray Epps?
That's like the funniest part of the whole clip is when he does the Ray
Epps.
That's
the quickest. Thing. That is the quickest question he had yesterday. He was like, who's Ray Epps? Who's the guy? We all know where he came from. And that was it. And then boom, he was on to the next question.
It's funny because he's like, the question is, who is Ray Epps? And then he's like, we know the answer. Here's that clip here.
He's like, do we though?
On January 6th. And who is Ray Epps? Tell me about Ray Epps. Where does he come from? I think we know.
Who is Ray Epps? Who's Ray Epps?
Then why do you need to know if you already know? But the point is that there was a congressional committee that found out who Ray Epps was and what his involvement in January 6th was, and it was nothing. He was just a fucking idiot there.
Yeah, there's footage, there's photos that put him at.
There's testimony. There's fucking testimony of them interviewing him.
But the biggest question of the decade. Who is Ray Epps?
Right.
Who is he? We all know where he came from. Yeah, I don't know. Fucking mother's birth canal.
Right.
I don't know what the fuck you want to talk about.
Right. But the other thing too is, again, this is his attempt at distraction from the crimes that he committed on January 6th. But the part of the video, because he can't just do a video on a certain subject. He's got to get off on tangents. And but the subject was, hey, this Durham information about me committing crimes in Italy, probably with collusion with Russia, is going to drop, that they hid it, and Bill Barr is a corrupt piece of shit, and he's one of the most dangerous people that was ever as an attorney general of ours. That story's going to drop, so I got to get this out there so my people know what to say when the story drops. All fake news. Here's why it's fake news, because Donald Trump said this. Our Jesus reassured us. He reassured us that he's being set up here. When you elect a criminal, corrupt motherfucker, a career corrupt motherfucker like Donald Trump, a con man, a money launderer, when you elect him to a higher office, especially the president of the United States, where he has the authority to appoint an attorney general, he is not going to appoint the attorney general in the interest of the country. He's going to appoint the attorney general in the interest of his own fucking crimes. He's going to appoint him so he can cover up his crimes. And that is what has led us to have John Durham and Donald Trump on the Bonehead of the Week. Every single Friday, we do Bonehead of the Week here on the Tony Michaels podcast, and we post a clip on MeidasTouch Network. Don't forget to subscribe to the Tony Michaels podcast on YouTube. And if you're on MeidasTouch watching the clip right now, make sure to subscribe on our channel, the Tony Michaels podcast on YouTube and the MeidasTouch Network. Also, you can vote for Bonehead of the Week on Twitter at Tony Michaels Pod and on the YouTube channel. So don't forget to subscribe. Have I said it 3 times yet to subscribe to the YouTube channel?
Subscribe.
Go to the community tab. You'll be able to vote on the community tab for Bonehead of the Week every single week, and on Twitter, and also download every single episode of our podcast. And don't forget to watch live every single weekday, Monday through Friday, noon Eastern, 11 Central, 9 Pacific, for 2 full hours, where in the second hour of Friday, we do Bonehead of the Week. George Santos, boy, you've given us a lot of bonehead content because you are a fucking bonehead. Everybody, this has been your edition of the Scamturian Candidate Bonehead of the Week.